Good morning and welcome to Conversations in Care on the Third Planet Network. Today we are talking about a subject that's pretty near and dear to my heart, which happens to be dementia. But one of the things that we're doing is I'm talking to a great friend of mine named Cathy Braxton, and we're talking about really getting the family involved in caring for and working with and understanding your loved one with dementia. So what we're going to be talking about today is those in your family that are younger. So maybe your children, some grandchildren, nieces, nephews that are going to visit and work with and be around grandma, grandpa, great-grandma, great-grandpa. How can we get them to really understand and be sensitive to some of the needs that someone that is older may have? So I'm going to introduce you to Cathy Braxton. Cathy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Tammy. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. Before we get started, why don't you let us tell our, I was going to say listeners, but it's going to be people that are watching, tell us a little bit about your background.
I have an extensive background in dementia care. I've worked with residents and patients with dementia and Alzheimer's for over 20 years. I started off as an activity director and found that it was a true passion, absolute true passion of mine to work with people who had some form of dementia, whether it was Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or just age-related dementia. I found that my ability to communicate with them was very natural. It came to me very well, and I noticed a lot of discrepancies with other staff members that weren't able to communicate as well. And that caused me to look further and further into how can we train people, staff members, family members alike, as to how to communicate effectively. And that is one of my biggest goals. And one of the things is to get down to the basics and really look at not so much the dementia, because it's very hard to simulate dementia, but it's definitely easy to simulate sensory loss. And when you start to process that with other people in your family, they're going to get a good feel for what grandma and grandpa are going through. One of the things I think about a lot is when we see someone who has the flu, has a cold, maybe they're in bed very sick in the hospital, we never ask them to do something they can't do because we can see that they can't do it. But with dementia, it's not obvious that someone can't complete a task or remember or understand or recall. And so that happens quite oftenly is family members have expectations that are unrealistic, because we look at someone who may have dementia who physically is very capable. They're walking around, they're getting into things, they're going through their drawers, they're attempting to get themselves dressed, so they look like they're capable. But the reality is they're not, and we need to bring that to the forefront of the entire family.
You know, Cathy, I really love this idea because I think this goes actually full circle. It's not only just when we're working with seniors, it's also, there's many other people that have diseases that are kind of invisible, for lack of a better term. And I think if we can have some sort of an understanding of some of those things, I think this will help anybody that's really working with someone or caregiving or just wanting to have a conversation with someone that is impaired in some way. So what I like that you have done is you have really taken this to a level where anybody can really work with and really understand some of these changes in sensory, you know, whether it's vision or hearing or even tactile. So where do you want to start? Do you want to start with vision or hearing and kind of tell us what we can do to really help understand?
Sure, let's start with vision. And one of the things that I've done is I've created a kit, but my kit is from all of the products that I've been able to either sum up from my home, my garage, or very simply gone to the hardware store and picked up. So the idea is you can bring this type of sensitivity training, this empathy training into the house by just walking around your house and picking up very simple objects and making it into a fun game that can work for anyone in the family. The most important thing to remember, though, is even though it's a game and you should have fun with it because that's the best way to remember after the fact, is we always have to process. So after we do an experiment with someone, after we sit with our kids and we go through a vision exercise, processing after the fact is really the most important because that's where it's going to hit home. So visually, what I have found is at the hardware store, yellowing eyeglasses, just your typical eye protection, but they have the yellow tint to them. This simulates the natural yellowing of the lenses. This happens to every person as they age, dementia or not. And so it's a real interesting glasses to just put on, walk around the house, and you can see the differences in colors. This helps people understand why oranges, yellows, and browns are really hard to distinguish, and why someone who is experiencing this isn't going to match their clothes very well.
You know, what I like too is for example, right now, my son, this is his third snow day in a row, and this is something that I can, once he gets to that point and says to me, "Hey, I'm bored," this is a great activity for families to really pull out in an instant to really, you know, come to understand what it's like and how to communicate.
Absolutely, absolutely. And everything I've used and everything I have with me right now are things that I've had either in the house or I stopped at the Ace Hardware store and picked up for a couple dollars. A couple other things I've done is I've just purchased your regular glasses that you would buy at a hardware store for eye protection, but I used black electrical tape. And black electrical tape is very easy to use. It's very manipulative. It's very plastic. It's very forgiving. But in these particular glasses, if you can see two small holes in the middle, that simulates cataracts. And so what you can do is utilize these glasses. These are the cataract glasses. These are blacked out except for a very small portion on the side. This simulates macular degeneration. And what you can do with the glasses and the yellowing glasses is do something like have them look in a phone book for a specific name. Just try the glasses on, give them a business to look up and see if they can find it. The other thing they can do is give them a check and have them put a pen in their hand with the glasses on and have them just try to write a check out. Try to see where they'd even know how to sign it. The other activity with these glasses is to have them read a specific medicine bottle. Try to see if they can actually read the prescription, who it's for, how often to take it, because they're going to find with these glasses that they're going to be moving their head around, they're going to be trying to hold the bottle to the side, especially with macular degeneration where the vision is only on the peripheral. You're going to be seeing them trying to look on the side for the prescription. And this is going to really help simulate why these types of residents need so much assistance with medication setup and different types of pill cases put aside for them. And it also helps explain a lot as to why, even though medications are colored, it doesn't always help, especially when you have the yellowing of the lenses, because the blues and the greens and the browns all blend in together.
And Cathy, what I like about this one too is the fact that sometimes family members, whether it's a daughter working with their mom or father, sometimes they don't understand how can mom get her medications mixed up. And I think this really tells us, you know, when I have this teeny tiny bottle, how can they, and I have to look at it from the side, this helps us to understand how they could mix up the dosage or how many times a day or how amount of pills, all of that stuff. So I think it's a great visual, not just for the children, but also for the adults as well.
Absolutely, and in fact, it even goes further and helps the adult child in the family understand when mom and dad need to go to the doctor and report what medications they're taking. You cannot send mom to the doctor alone with her 3 bottles of pills and report to the doctor what she's taking accurately. And so it helps enforce why our seniors really need us as the adult children as advocates for them in these roles. And this exercise really helps hit home with the kids. It really helps them understand the visual. My son was in here right before we started and was trying the glasses on, and he found it fascinating. And he put the macular degeneration one on and couldn't see anything. And I put my hand to the side of his head, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I see your fingers wiggling." So he was really experiencing, to the best of his ability, what it's like for someone who has macular degeneration.
You know, and I love these exercises too, because let me tell you, the very first time I put on glasses that simulated what it was like to have macular degeneration, it really made me take a step back. My mother has macular degeneration, and it was the first time that I could actually physically understand what she was going through. Yes, I had seen her. She walks really well. She can get places on her own, but she's really adapted very well. But once I put those glasses on, I was like, oh, it was really very much an aha moment for me when I did that.
Exactly, exactly. I had a family who needed counseling as to why their father was living at home with them, has dementia, and the young child at home, he was maybe 12 or 13, was constantly complaining that Grandpa wasn't able to change the channels on the TV. And why can't Grandpa do this for me? And Mom, I don't understand. I just need this channel changed. Why can't Grandpa see it? Well, very simply, put on a pair of these glasses and have the child hand him the remote and see what he's able to do.
Right.
That would be a very quick 5-minute, you start, you finish, you process the whole situation, and all of a sudden this 13-year-old who doesn't understand why Grandpa can't do, you can hold the remote, why can't he manage the remote, all of a sudden it hits home.
Absolutely. I love this. They're very quick. They're very to the point. They really help us to visualize. You know, sometimes it does take a moment for us to maybe step into someone else's shoes to really understand what they're going through.
Exactly. Exactly.
So what do you, we talked a little bit about vision. So do you have more on vision, or is there something that we can talk about in regards to hearing?
I do. In regards to vision, one of the things that I've done is I typed up a medication list, and you can give someone a simple medication list and have them just read it and see if the child can read the medications and the dosage correctly. And then what you can do is change the font, the coloring, red font on a yellow background.
Oh, how awful.
It's actually much easier for a senior to see that, because black font on white paper causes a glare. And so if you just mess around with either the font size or the color of the font and the background, that will change things too. And you can do that really simply at work, on your own computer, printing it out, just changing things up to see, oh, I see now why Grandpa can't read the paper as well. It's the black font on the white paper. The font is very small. So again, changing the font, those types of things. The other thing you can do visually, and you can add this with something that's tactile as well, is someone who's wearing the glasses, give them a simple wallet. I've put Monopoly money in here, but you can put in money, regular money, and ask the child to make change. Tell them they just purchased something and they need to give you $10.55. And with the glasses, they can attempt to do that with the wallet. Even trying to open the wallet or opening the zipper is going to be difficult for them. And you can add on to this exercise by having them wear very simple, these are work gloves, okay? And I've stuffed the tips of these gloves with cotton balls. Again, this is something you're going to have in your garage, your work gloves, your cotton balls up in your bathroom. Have them wear these, have them take the glasses off. And now have them try to take money out of the wallet or count change or even try to manipulate coins. So now you're adding layers on, because most people don't just have one deficiency. They have multiple, if not all 5 senses are deteriorating. And so you can do a simple vision, you can do a simple tactile, but then if Grandma and Grandpa are really having struggles, add and layer those things on. Have them wear the glasses and the gloves and try to do an exercise.
Cathy, I love it. You know, and this is something that at some point in time I would love to take this to McDonald's and all the other different restaurants and shops, because oftentimes you will see that person, and it doesn't even have to be a person with dementia. It could be somebody that is blind, that is working through their wallet and trying to get the right amount of money. And sometimes you see that the employees are very impatient with someone like that. So I love this. I'm going to be taking this with me on the road.
Great, that's good. And this is something people do, a lot of diversity training in their place of work, and this is the idea of bringing it down, bringing it home. But again, diversity training at work. This even helps with like an anti-bullying type of situation. If you have young kids at home and they're dealing with a situation where they don't understand a child at their school because they're different, these are all things you can put into play to kind of have them just gain that empathy, that sensitivity to what somebody else might be going through.
That's a great idea. I love that, Cathy. Thank you. So what do we got in regards to hearing?
Hearing. Well, with hearing, again, I purchased these, I think were $1.99. They're your ear muffs that you would wear, ear protection for when you mow the lawn or whatever the case may be. You can put these on. You can read a short story to a child and see how much they picked up from it. You can read them a list of medications and see how much they were able to retain and respond back to you. Yes, they got that one right. No, they didn't get that one right. And one of the exercises I enjoy the most is actually something called the unfair hearing test. And this is not needed. These are not needed for the unfair hearing test. All that is needed is the list of words, which I'm going to say to you right now, and I'm going to muffle my voice very simply, and I'm going to see which words you got correct.
Okay, here we go.
Let me turn my page here.
I'm going to write these down, and are we going to do these individually?
Yes, there's 10 words.
Okay.
And I'm going to say the number clearly to you so you can number it, and then I'm going to muffle my voice to say the word, and I want you to write down what you hear.
Okay, go right ahead.
Number 1, fill.
Okay.
Number 2, catch.
Okay.
Number 3, thumb.
Okay.
Number 4, heap.
Okay.
Number 5,
These are tough.
wise.
Can you say that one again?
Wise.
Oh.
And it's good to have fun with it too. I've done this with my kids. They really enjoyed this. It really helped impact them.
Okay, number 6.
Number 6, wedge.
Okay.
Number 7, fish.
Okay.
Number 8, shows. Oh, I loved that face. It's perfect.
Okay, 9.
Number 9, bed.
Okay.
And number 10, juice. This is
Okay,
very, very simple. All I did was put my hand over my mouth. I've seen where it was explained that they actually held the microphone really close to their mouth and they do it to a large crowd. You can do this by putting on a radio and putting on a channel that has just static playing.
Oh, I love that idea.
Adds to that background noise that's very, very difficult for people to filter out. Okay, let's see what you did.
Let's see how I did. So first word was Phil.
Phil, that's correct.
Okay.
So make a list of correct and incorrect.
Okay. Number 2 was cat.
Very good.
Number 3 was phone.
Thumb.
No
Thumb.
way. It was not thumb. Okay, number 4 I have is heat.
Heap with a P.
It's so easy. You don't realize. Oh my goodness.
Exactly.
Number 5 I have is Y.
Wise, W-I-S-E.
Number 6 I have is wet.
Wedge, W-E-D-G-E.
I'm doing really good here. I've
Well,
got
this is exactly what we want to show.
number 7 I have is fish.
Fish, very good.
Yay, I got it right. Number 8, shows.
Perfect, very good.
Number 9, fed.
Bed, B-E-D.
10, juice.
That's correct.
Okay, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 50%.
50%. Right. Okay, so you can absolutely see why if you're speaking to someone and they have that hearing deficiency, they're going to think that you told them, which one did you get wrong? Thumb, you got wrong.
Yes.
Heat versus heat. The consonants fall when people have hearing deficiency. Another thing that's very interesting with the auditory is we encourage our seniors to wear hearing aids. However, what's very interesting is you'll find that they don't want to wear them, and there's multiple reasons why. One of them is cosmetic. They don't like the way it looks. Secondly, they're uncomfortable. And with someone who has dementia, it feels like a foreign object in the ear. They can't remember what it is that they're wearing and why, so they take the foreign object out. And the third most common reason is as we are young, we train our brains to filter out outside background noise. When you have hearing loss, that background noise starts to kind of fade away. You put the hearing aids back in, all of a sudden that background noise, all that stuff we used to filter out is back. And someone who has dementia has to retrain their brain to block out that background noise again. And it is so difficult to retrain. It's so hard to teach an old dog new tricks, and it's specifically almost impossible with someone with dementia to retrain your brain something new again, that they just can't take all that noise. There's almost too much, so they take them out.
You know, that's interesting because I remember my father. My father did not have dementia, but he wore hearing aids, and he said that was the one thing he hated because it just amplified everything.
Exactly.
And it didn't really necessarily make it easier by using the hearing aid for him. So I can imagine if it's someone with dementia, how awful that would be for them to withstand and not really understanding. You know, at least my father had the understanding of what was happening.
Yes.
But very, very difficult. So that's amazing to me that, you know, we have technology, but we still haven't been able to figure that out, how to make that a little bit better for them.
Exactly, exactly. So those are the three things that I like to do with hearing. I think the unfair hearing test is a really fun one. That's so simple: a piece of paper, a pencil, and a list of 10 words.
I love that one. Just because it is so easy. You could do that anywhere, anytime, with anybody, and really demonstrate very quickly, you know, what it's like to have hearing loss. Now, Cathy, one of my questions that I have for you, you talked about the fact that one of the most important things about this is you do the activity and then you need to process this. So what are your suggestions for a family, mom, dad, doing this with their children? Once they do these activities, should there be a conversation that's had with the children in regards to what they just experienced?
There absolutely has to be a conversation, and I think the conversation has to be on a multi-level form. First of all, you have to talk about what the experience was right after the fact, and that can be the fun talk. That can be laughing about how many, you know, I got 50% right, or I didn't get those right. Definitely encouraging it to be a fun activity, and laughing about what they experienced after the fact right away is a good way to kind of solidify what they just experienced. And then to bring it up maybe the next day and just say, do you remember what we did yesterday? How did that impact you? Did you notice anything through your day that kind of brought you back? to, oh, I remember when I wore those glasses, and then I saw so-and-so on the bus, and it really made me wonder why, or made me realize why. Or when we were at the grocery store and I saw the older lady fumbling with her wallet, that really hit me home. So talking to them, I think multiple times. I think you have to do it right away, processing right away, and having them laugh at it, have fun with it, but then ask them questions. How do you see that this would affect Grandpa? Do you see anything right now that Grandma's doing that kind of matches up with what we just practiced? Oh, and then the child's going to respond to that, just like you did with your dad. You right away said, okay, I was totally there. And then the next day, because they're gonna stew on this a little bit. And these types of activities, for someone who's maybe 6, 7 years old, you may just want to do one at a time. You may just want to do the phone book with a pair of glasses and end it right there. For someone who's a little older, a child who's a little older, you can layer those experiences. Put the glasses on, put the hearing muffs on, and put the gloves on, and have them do a multiple sensory experience. So the experiences can be 5 minutes, like that hearing test. You can expand it out to 10 minutes. And then you could even go further and have them do something that you've done in the past, which is have them almost experience everything all at once.
Right, right.
And that's where they have pretty much everything I have laid out. And it's nothing more than a very small suitcase full of things that I carry around. But they're very simple. This is an example. It's just a baggie, nuts and bolts, little checker pieces. This is something very simple that a 5-year-old, 6-year-old is going to be able to do. Have them wear the gloves. Have them try to manipulate those pieces. Have them try to open up a medicine bottle, or open it up for them because they shouldn't be able to open them. But try to pick those pieces up and put them in with those big puffy gloves on. So again, it's processing, I think, at least twice, and if not, maybe a week later. And then you have to continually redo this. Even if you and I have had experience in the workplace, staff, you can't do sensitivity training once and expect it's going to stick. This is something that has to be reiterated over and over and over again. We always and constantly have to remind ourselves we will never know what someone else is experiencing. And we need to, at least every 3 to 6 months, bring it back into the forefront, and possibly even more frequently with a family with children.
And I think what I see with this is that, children are smart and they can pick up things. And, I know just by having my children with me when they were growing up within the nursing home, because what would happen is they'd come with me, we'd visit some of the residents, and then a couple weeks later they'd say something, or I'd see them do something that made me realize that what they saw, what they experienced, they really took to heart. So I think this is great. I think this is a great way to really, maybe, your mom has moved into our nursing home and you're going to take your children there for the first time. Doing some of these things is a great way to get them prepared, because sometimes it can be a scary adventure for children to go into the nursing home. So I love these things. I love the fact that, you can consistently come back to them. You can change it up as they age. Like you said, just start putting all the things on them and having them experiencing that. And, and I think sometimes children, once they experience it, then they might start bringing those questions to you. So I think this is a great way to maybe even open the door for them to have, a session where they ask those questions, or makes them feel a little bit freer to ask those questions when needed.
Absolutely. And when they start to gain a better sense of empathy, because it is something that's taught. Empathy we're born with a sense of it, but we really gain our full potential of empathy in our own homes by how we're raised. And so this is an exercise that's going to not only affect how they interact with Grandma and Grandpa, but it really is going to help them grow as an individual overall. When we enhance this empathy, then they're going to go into the nursing home, they're going to visit someone, they're going to see things, they're not going to be as scared. They're going to understand why someone is doing something. And again, right after you leave the nursing home, doing some processing and not being afraid to take them and have them see these types of people, talk through what they're experiencing. every time you go, every experience that you have with this is going to bring that level of fear down more and more and more.
Absolutely. Cathy, I want to thank you so much for being on Conversations in Care today. This was some great stuff, and it's really stuff that people can get their hands into and onto very quickly. So I thank you for doing that, and I want to have you back because you have more.
I do.
Not only vision and hearing, but there's tactile and some other things that we can really help people to understand what it's like to, maybe it's just being sick or having a chronic condition, or it's, the normal parts of aging. So I want to thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it and look forward to coming back on.
Absolutely. Now, real quick, I know underneath your name you have your email address, and that's generationsofcare@yahoo.com. So if anybody has any questions, that's where they can get to you. Is that correct?
That's correct. That'd be wonderful.
Now, and just also real quickly, can you come out to places and do some presentations? Can you consult with families? What do you do?
That's exactly what I do. I actually go to facilities. I do sensitivity training with staff. I do sensitivity training with children, and I do family consulting. I actually have a family I'm consulting with tonight. They were able to get all of their members of their family together in one room tonight, so I'm going out to give them some education on dementia, taking some sensitivity training with them, and helping them basically take what they've learned from the sensitivity training, and then it's going to really help them, enhance the communication they're going to have with the dementia resident.
Absolutely. I think that's wonderful. We give them those tools, and then that interaction with their loved one becomes a little bit better for everyone involved. So thank you once again for being on the show. And if you are watching and you have any questions in regards to dementia or seniors or anything of the like, please go ahead and visit my website, which is www.conversations-in-care.com. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Third Planet Network, and be well.